At the beginning of this summer, I set out to make our homestead more kid-friendly. I needed ways to keep my kids busy when I was doing stuff they couldn't help with, and I also wanted to create ways for them to be engaged and a part of the homestead with responsibilities and sort of activities or projects that were age appropriate for my kids. And as you can see, it is now fall, so I thought we'd kind of take a look back at some of the projects this year, some that went really well, some that I didn't even get started, and just kind of give you a rundown of how the summer went. I'm Kelsey, your best friend on the homestead from roughandtumblefarmhouse.com. First of all, I just realized we're just gonna roll with it. I'm also wearing my cuckoo kangaroo uh, pin right now, so that's very appropriate for a video about kids and homesteading. Anyway, let's start with the garden. So in the garden, I had a few different projects going in there for the kids. The first one, let's talk about the project that didn't happen, and it's still on my to-do list, and that is a mud kitchen. I have this huge pallet that's sitting in our shop. I've been planning on cutting it up for I think 2 years. I've been meaning to build this mud kitchen and get it in the garden, and here's a spot where it's supposed to go. And obviously there's not a mud kitchen there. I've also collected at thrift stores and things, some really cool like vintage and antique enamelware for their kitchen. I've got all like the things for it. It's just kind of the time to make it happen. So we still have some time here this year. The weather's been really nice to us this fall, so I might still get it done. That might be the trick, is instead of trying to do it during the busyness of the summer, after that first frost kind of kills everything and we get that warm up, maybe I'll try and do it then. I don't know. But mud kitchen never happened. One project that did happen, it was a huge success with the kids, is a bean house. Now, this was super easy to make. I was inspired by a picture I saw on Facebook. I have a whole video I can link to at the end of this one about building the bean house. And basically, it's a really simple frame I made out of scrap wood, and then I stapled some old fence to it to create kind of the trellis. And then we planted a pole bean all around it. The kids had so much fun picking beans from it because it was really easy for them to see and find the beans. They had a lot of fun with that. And then two, we've had so much fun this fall. A bunch of the beans have dried out, so the kids have had a lot of fun harvesting the dried pods, cracking them open. My 1.5-year-old, he loves just digging his little fingers in there and busting open those. They have kept him so busy, and so it's been a lot of fun in that way. They didn't really plane it the way I kind of thought they would. I'd make it wider because when I was building it, I thought, okay, this is big enough for like two little kids to sit in and like play dolls or make believe or whatever. But once the beans grow up and they fill it in, you can just kind of like stand in there. There's not a lot of space, but they had a lot of fun getting the beans from it and again doing the pods. So, and you could do cucumbers or other like climbing things you want to do on there. So a bean house, huge success. Another thing in the garden I did this year is I started a strawberry patch. The strawberries, I had the hardest time keeping these things weeded. I had actually mulched them, and then the mulch it's a long story. But the strawberries didn't do super well. We got just a couple of them off of them. And the variety, I got an everbearing because I want it to be something we could just kind of every time we're in the garden see if there's some strawberries rather than just like a flush of strawberries in June. And the flavor was okay. I can't remember which variety. If I can figure it out, I'll put it here on the bottom. The taste was okay, so. And so we'll see how the plants do next year because we just planted them this year. So we'll see next year how the plants are looking and what we maybe get from them. Another garden project this year was I just really wanted to focus on growing things the kids like. So we did, in addition to like the climbing beans, we did bush beans in 3 different colors. We did purple, yellow, and green. We did cabbages, which are awesome this year. I still need to get cabbages out of the garden today or tomorrow. We're finally going to get an actual frost here the next couple days here in October, which is crazy. Usually like mid-September is when we get frost. But so cabbages, because my youngest daughter, my son, they really love sauerkraut. I love sauerkraut. So that's yet another project we can kind of bring into the kitchen. We did kale. They really like kale, carrots. I'm trying to think what else. Those are kind of the main things that the kids really like. So that was definitely a success as well, growing things the kids are excited to come down to the garden and see and pick and eat and have a good time with. Okay, rolling out of the garden. Another project we had kind of was just this tree. Back here you can see, I think of it as kind of like the spooky old tree from the Bernstein Bears. And I really wanted to have like a tree house that would have been cool. I knew that wasn't going to happen, honestly. I couldn't even get a mud kitchen built, let alone a whole tree house. But I was able to get, I just did a really simple swing on one side. It's just like got the perfect branches for it. My husband's always terrified that the branches are going to collapse on the kids, which I am aware of. Be watching out for that. But so just a simple little swing and a simple little thing of monkey bars as something to kind of keep them busy. We're actually getting this coming weekend a whole jungle gym for the backyard that my in-laws are done with. Their kids have outgrown. I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be awesome. So the tree worked. It kind of kept them a little bit busy. So I'd say that's a success. Also up here, just to my side here, is the pumpkin patch, so to speak. That was, again, towards the end of the year. I think I'd started some pumpkins and they died, or I can't remember. It's just, you know, May was a million years ago now that it's October, but I'm pretty sure I just put some seeds in the ground. And so here we are in October. We have, I think, like 5 pumpkins in there, which for the amount of plants I put in there is like just an insane amount of blossoms in there that if we had another month, we'd have like 400 pumpkins. But the seeds got planted late and whatever else. So kind of a flop on the pumpkin patch, but we're getting a few the kids can kind of do something fun with. That also the rabbits didn't eat. That was the other issue. Lots of bunnies this year in the yard and garden. Speaking of bunnies, that's kind of a good transition into the other things this year. I said we were just going to get ducks. We ended up with so many animals this year, you guys, that we weren't planning on. So we can start with the ducks though, because they were the first. So I got some hatching eggs from a friend. She has silver apple yards, which I wanted to kind of raise at our place. And because they're heritage breed, they're just really pretty and just made me happy to see them at her farm. So we hatched out 14 ducks altogether that that came from the eggs we started. I don't remember how many started. I'll link to that too with a video. Gosh, I've got dirty sleeves from cooking dinner. I'll link to that as well. And so the ducks have been so much fun. Just the incubation process the kids loved. Having the little ducklings. Ducklings are so cute. They grow crazy fast. Heads up if you've never hatched out ducklings before and just done chicks. That was crazy how fast they grew. But it's been so much fun, and we have a lot of fun with them here on the farm. It'll be our first winter with ducks, which a lot of people, that's like when they don't do ducks is because winter is really tough because they're so messy. So we'll see what we can figure out. We also have to get rid of a few of the drakes because we have more drakes than we need, which, you know, always happens when you're hatching stuff out. But we've had a lot of fun, and the hens, they hatched Easter Sunday and they have started laying. So it's really fun also to get duck eggs as well. Sorry, the light's kind of shifting on me here as I'm recording this. It's this tiny window of time after dinner and before bedtime that I told my husband, like, take the kids, I gotta make this video. Anyway, so ducks have been a lot of fun. Another project we had was I wanted to have chickens that the kids could really be, could raise and handle and have kind of like a more tame chicken. So with that in mind, I got some Buff Orpingtons. Again, I have a family-friendly chicken breeds video that I can link to as well. And I have a whole playlist of kind of these like family-friendly projects I'll link to too. But so we did the Buff Orpingtons, but it was kind of a flop because the chickens happened. No, bunnies happened, which we'll get to bunnies. Bunnies, chicks, and a new puppy all happened within like a week of each other. And so the chicks just kind of got lost in the mix here. So maybe as they get older, we can revisit getting specifically for them. So we do have the Buff Orpingtons. They are pretty. They are definitely, considering they weren't handled a ton, they do kind of come up and hang out a lot more than some of the other chickens. But yeah, that definitely was kind of a flop because there are just too many things. So moving on to the bunnies. So the bunnies, we hadn't planned on getting rabbits. I had a rabbit before. When my husband and I got married, I came with a rabbit. It was my first pet. My husband, he actually had, for a brief amount of time, a Flemish giant rabbit. But we were just busy or whatever else with the kids. I mean, they were really little, all the kids at the time. We just didn't have any time for him. So we rehomed him. Oh, they're speaking pets. There's Sunny back there. But now my kids are a little bit older. My oldest just turned 6. So they're 6, just about 4, and just about 2. And so I had a friend on Instagram who is kind of semi-local, and she messaged and was like, hey, you know I've reached out before. We're going to have kind of extra rabbits this year. Would you guys like some for your kids? We'd be happy to, gift you some. And so I asked my husband what he thought, and I said, really don't feel like I have the time to deal with the rabbits or deal with bunnies. And he said, yeah, let's do it for the kids. It'll be fun. So we got 2 rabbits, and then within like a week and a half, one of them died. Mysterious. We don't know what happened. One just died. So I contacted the gal again. I said, I'm so sorry. We lost one. And I ran through everything we were feeding and doing. And she's like, yeah, that all sounds fine. Sometimes they just die. And so she incredibly kindly gave us 2 replacement rabbits, because she said, well, that way if one kicks it, you're covered. So now we have 3 rabbits. We're doing them outside only, all winter even. This is how they do it. They do kind of colony style rabbits. These are not for meat. These are fiber. They're Jersey woolies, which actually they're due for a brushing out here. So we can do stuff with the fiber if we want to, but these are just strictly for my kids, for having responsibility, a pet of their own, a project that they can go and do stuff with while I'm working in the yard or whatever. They can go and sit in there and try and pet their bunnies and give them treats and brush them and all that kind of stuff. So they're strictly for the kids, a project for the kids. And because we have more bunny than we planned on having, we are putting up a bigger enclosure for the rabbits to kind of do this sort of outdoor sort of thing. Because even though we're here in Minnesota, sorry, the sun, even though we're here in Minnesota, they can do fine outside in a colony setting. So that's the bunnies. Bunnies have been, I'd say, a success. The kids are definitely involved. My husband and I still do most of the chores, honestly. But as the kids get bigger, And as we have an enclosure that's like easier for them to get in and out of, they'll be able to do a lot more with our rabbits. So then there's also, yeah, the bunnies. And then last but definitely not least is Poppy the puppy. We, again, it was just a year where people were giving us animals. And it's hard to say no to an animal, especially a puppy. So this is a longer story, and I believe I have a members only video for this. So if you're a member of the channel or not a member of the channel, membership prices are super duper cheap, and it's just a way to like help support our little farm and the channel and everything. So if you want like the full story on the puppy, you can head over there. I'll again link that one in the description too. Anyway, I had a friend, long story short, they have raised blue heelers for years. I always really liked their dogs. And they offered us a puppy. And so that was really hard to say no, just because of kind of timing things with our own family and the age of our dog, Sunny. She just turned 7 this year. We kind of discussed that this would actually be an ideal year to get a puppy. And then the fact that it was a blue heeler, which I've been wanting, and also a blue heeler from kind of this line of heelers that I've known for years and have liked for years, it was hard to say no. And then he is a semi-retired vet, so we traded some ducks for vaccinations and things. So it worked out really great. So also, sorry, Sunny's barking at the kids over there. So yeah, so I think that covers all the kid projects. So I'd say, if you're looking at doing kind of a fun project, if it comes like garden wise, planting what your kids like is super easy. The bean house literally cost me nothing. I had saved the bean seeds. We had the scrap wood around. We had that was just super easy, a super easy one to do. And again, I'll link to that video. I just kind of made it up, and that's probably why it looks sort of ramshackle, but it doesn't bother me at all. And then I think it is really nice, though I know not everybody has the ability, but to have sort of an animal project that your kids can safely be around. Although rabbits, man, they can scratch and they can bite. So that is something to be aware of, and they can also escape somewhat easily. So, but that's been really nice having that project for them. And the ducks were just quacking, kind of reminded me. The ducks were definitely the whole incubation process when they were babies. We spent every single day we had duck time. We went downstairs and the kids got to hold the ducklings. And especially that first week or so, they tuck their little bills into your hand or your arm or whatever and snuggle, and they're just really sweet. So maybe the ducks. I think ducks maybe over bunnies. Duck season, rabbit season type of thing. I think ducks win this year maybe. So yeah, there's a lot of things you can do to make your homesteads a place where your kids can thrive for themselves and not just be doing it because that's what you want to do. And that's something that I've always struggled with a little bit. My oldest daughter, she wants to live in New York City. She loves the city. She's just, I'm sick of living on a stinky farm. And she does actually, when she comes out and gets to do it with us, she loves getting the eggs. She loves walking around doing fencing with me. She loves getting to be a part of things. And so that's, I think, really the ticket and the key to having your kids grow up loving this life and not just being frustrated by the fact that, oh, we've got all this stuff we have to do all the time. Having things that are fun for them, that are just for them, and that they can take ownership of, I think can really go a long way. Now, if you have kids on your homestead, I'd love to hear if you have projects or things you've done on your homestead to keep them engaged, to keep them safe on the homestead when you're having to be busy. I'd love to hear all about it. And again, I'm going to link to the bean house video here, and maybe I'll link to the duck incubating, or maybe the playlist where I have just kind of stuff about a kid-friendly homestead if you are sort of in that space too, where you're trying to figure out ways to kind of make your homestead a holistic place for your whole family. All right, give those a watch. And otherwise, if none of those twist your pickle, that's fine. We will see you here next week for more from our rough and tumble farmhouse.